Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be continuing in my series of Edwardian fashion sewing videos to show you the progress on some of the projects that I've been working on. You may have recently seen my vintage 1920s flat cap video, and today we're going to be focusing on a vest that I'm making. Vintage fashion, especially from the late Victorian and Edwardian eras, which is a time period of approximately 10 to 30 years before World War I, at the turn of the 20th century, has been an interest of mine for a number of years. But only recently I've seen this resurgent interest in other people, especially with shows like Downton Abbey and Peaky Blinders, and even some of these more interesting history shows like Edwardian Farm and Victorian Farm from the BBC back in about 2011. I didn't think that there was much of a connection with the homesteading world until I saw that more people were taking an interest in the lives of their great-grandparents, great-great-grandparents, approximately 115, 125 years ago. And you see a lot of the pictures of even farmers out in their fields wearing, pretty nice clothing, what we would consider being very dressed up to go out and dig in the dirt. And when you see that, you see that connection with an older era and that sort of mindset that was very unique. And I think people like that connection. They want to see that people take pride not only in their appearance but in the meticulousness of their lives and their self-care and their farms, and they just sort of look back at that time period as a time that is worthy of emulation. Some of these projects have come up recently in my notice, not only from the work of people like Nicholas and Sebastian and Bernadette, but they're becoming more visible on YouTube. They're developing a greater following, and their videos are obviously getting out there more. But it's interesting to see some of those sort of niche channels actually coming into the broader public consciousness, especially in homesteading circles. And it was very interesting to see an interview with Homesteading Family and Bernadette Banner recently, because I thought, wait a minute, am I living in the twilight zone? My interests are crossing, and somebody else has seen this as well. So it's very exciting to see. But I thought it might be interesting for you to hear from someone who isn't just interested in that, but is actually making that, to show you that you can do it too. I'm not a trained bespoke tailor by any means. I've learned to sew, and I've taught myself a number of different skills, as you can see on our channel. But applying this is another thing, and I wanted to show you how you can apply it yourselves and sort of make that connection with history, and to enjoy the sort of art and different quality that is lacking in a lot of our lives these days, even in things like clothing that you can't necessarily buy anywhere. Today's part of the project is going to be work on a vest that I'm making. This is actually a simplicity pattern. I'm going to put the link below for a video that's really helped me through this project from Professor Pincushion. That's another channel that I found very interesting for sewing basics and learning, especially just following along if you're looking to polish your own skills or teach perhaps someone, a teen or a tween in your home that's learning to sew. I found some great inspiration from that. But this pattern, I decided to try this pattern because it had more of a, I don't want to say a vintage look, but it was a little throwback look that I wanted to try to hone some of the projects, because I actually have a pattern out of Vintage Bursch's book, Sewing Vintage Menswear, which is part of this entire series. That's where I got the hat pattern and some other things. And I wanted to do this so that if I really screwed it up, I wasn't wasting the good fabric. I have some very nice wool tweed that I'm going to be using for the Vintage Bursch pattern, and I wanted to make sure that I worked out any little kinks before I dove into that project and actually invested the costlier materials into that. So this is still some good materials that I'm going to be using, but it's not the expensive stuff. So if you want to see how this is working along, this is the next step in making sure that I can do this without completely messing it up, but to show you too that this is entirely possible. This I don't want to say it's easy, but it's straightforward to do if you follow the steps and use the resources you have to learn this. So come along for this part of the journey. I'll show you what I'm working on, and I'll put the links below. I'm happy to comment on anything you have and to show you how I've enjoyed the connection with these other channels, and maybe one day I can get some of my own interviews with some of these folks that I follow with great interest. Thanks for watching this episode of the Roaming Homesteaders. If you like our channel, please subscribe and hit the bell so that you're notified whenever we release new videos. And as always, thanks for watching. Bye!